Men over 50, let me ask you something important. What if I told you there is a single point on your body that, when treated in the right way, can send a fresh surge of blood to your most intimate areas, restore sensitivity, and even help you wake up feeling the strength and vitality you thought belonged only to your younger years? Now, it is not on the shaft. It is not a muscle you exercise at the gym. In fact, most men never even think about this area. And yet it holds the key to circulation, confidence, and performance. As a physician, I have spent years sitting across from men who come into my office frustrated, embarrassed, and often defeated. They have tried the pills, they have tried the devices, and they are exhausted from solutions that treat the symptom but never touch the root. What I have come to understand through both clinical experience and a deep respect for the body's natural intelligence is that the real answer is often something far simpler than we expect. Something that does not require a prescription or a complicated procedure. I am speaking of castor oil, a humble natural oil that has been used for centuries for healing, cleansing, and restoring balance to the body. But here, applied in a very specific way, it becomes a powerful ally for male vitality. When used properly, it can improve circulation, awaken nerve sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and even support hormonal balance, all of which work together to strengthen erections naturally. And in this presentation today, I want to walk you through exactly how. By the end, you will understand why castor oil deserves a place in every man's routine, especially for those in their later years. I will explain where to apply it, how often to use it, and what changes you may begin to notice in the coming weeks. So, please stay with me because these details matter enormously. The body is remarkably responsive when we work with it instead of against it. And something as simple as this daily routine could very well transform your confidence and your health in ways you did not think were possible anymore. Now, before we get to the specific spot itself, let us take a closer look at castor oil. What it is, why it is unique, and why this one natural oil has such an extraordinary effect on circulation and vitality. Castor oil is one of nature's most fascinating remedies, and I say that not as a wellness enthusiast, but as someone trained to look at evidence. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary oil, thick, golden, and almost sticky to the touch. But within it lies a remarkable compound that makes it unlike any other oil we know of. Nearly 90% of castor oil is composed of a unique fatty acid called ricinoleic acid. This is the active agent behind its powerful healing properties. What makes ricinoleic acid exceptional is its ability to penetrate deeply into tissues in a way that few other natural substances can. Where many oils sit only on the surface of the skin, castor oil travels inward, carrying its soothing, circulation-boosting, and anti-inflammatory effects directly into deeper tissue layers. This deep action is why traditional healers across cultures treasured it for pain relief, for swelling, for cleansing, and for restoring balance to delicate organs. And it is why modern researchers continue to study it today. For men over 50, this becomes especially significant. By this stage of life, circulation is often slower, inflammation is more common, and hormonal balance has become more fragile. These three factors, poor blood flow, chronic inflammation, and declining hormones, are the very foundations of weak erections, reduced sensitivity, and the quiet erosion of confidence that so many men experience but rarely voice. Castor oil addresses each of these factors, not through harsh intervention, but by supporting the body's natural processes. Modern research has confirmed much of what traditional medicine long understood. Studies demonstrate that castor oil improves local blood flow, reduces swelling, and supports the lymphatic system, the body's internal cleansing network, in working more efficiently. When waste and toxins are cleared, fresh oxygen and nutrients can move in. For men, this translates to greater vitality, less congestion in the pelvic region, and stronger, healthier function overall. Now, it is important that I clarify something. The benefits we are discussing today do not come from swallowing castor oil orally, as was once practiced. That approach is outdated and clinically unnecessary. Instead, the real power lies in external application through gentle massage, compresses, or what we call castor oil packs. When used on the right area, these methods stimulate circulation where it matters most. And that brings us to the next essential question. Why is circulation so central to male vitality, and why does improving it make such a profound difference even in the later decades of life? When it comes to male vitality, circulation is not just important, it is everything. An erection is, at its most fundamental level, a vascular event. It is the result of blood flow. Without strong, steady circulation, the body cannot deliver the surge of oxygen and nutrients needed to fill and sustain that response. This is something I explain to my patients regularly, because once they understand the mechanics, the path forward becomes much clearer. This is also why so many men over 50 begin to notice changes that they cannot quite explain. It is not that their bodies have lost the desire or the capacity. It is that the river of life, the blood itself, is no longer flowing as freely as it once did. There are many reasons for this shift. Over time, small deposits can build up along arterial walls, making them less flexible and reducing their capacity to dilate. Blood becomes more sluggish when the body is chronically dehydrated or when the diet is high in processed foods and low in living, whole nutrients. Stress is another major factor. When stress hormones remain elevated, blood vessels constrict, reducing circulation to the very areas where it is most needed. The result is what I see regularly in clinical practice, and what so many men quietly experience but rarely bring up: weaker erections, reduced sensitivity, and a loss of confidence that ripples into every corner of life. Too often, the response is to reach for a pill, something that forces blood vessels open artificially for a window of time, but does absolutely nothing to heal the underlying dysfunction. I understand why men choose this path. It offers quick relief, but the body deserves more than that. Here is the truth I share with every patient who is willing to hear it. When we restore circulation naturally, the body begins to repair itself. Blood carries far more than oxygen. It delivers hormones, nutrients, and signaling molecules to every cell. When circulation improves, men do not only notice changes in performance. They notice improvements in energy, mental clarity, emotional steadiness, and overall physical strength. This is precisely where castor oil becomes so clinically interesting. By penetrating deep into tissues, it stimulates local blood flow in a safe and natural way. When applied to the right area, it helps draw fresh blood into the pelvic region, clears stagnation, and reawakens sensitivity. It is not a trick, and it is not a temporary fix. It works by encouraging the body to function the way it was designed to. Which brings us to the most important practical question. If circulation is the key, where exactly should castor oil be applied to have the greatest positive effect? In the next section, I will show you the specific location, explain why it is so physiologically significant, and guide you through how to begin using it at home to restore your confidence naturally. If circulation is the foundation of male vitality, then the question becomes, where can we most effectively encourage this flow? Most men assume the answer lies in the obvious places, but the body is more intricate than that. And as a physician, I want to draw your attention to an area that is far more influential than most people realize. That spot is the lower abdomen, just above the pubic bone. This region sits directly over the network of blood vessels and lymphatic channels that supply the pelvic organs. Think of it as the circulatory gateway into the entire reproductive area. When this zone becomes congested through chronic inflammation, sedentary habits, poor diet, or simply the passage of time, blood struggles to flow freely and sensitivity begins to dull. But when we stimulate this area gently and consistently, the results ripple through the entire system. Castor oil is uniquely suited for this purpose. When massaged into the lower abdomen, its ricinoleic acid penetrates through the skin and into deeper tissue layers, encouraging blood vessels to relax and lymphatic flow to increase. The oil's natural anti-inflammatory properties also calm irritation in the surrounding tissues, easing any silent swelling that may be interfering with normal function. The reason this approach is so effective comes back to basic physiology. The body is designed to heal when blockages are cleared and nourishment flows. By focusing attention on this often overlooked region, men can send a rush of fresh, oxygen-rich blood to the very place it is most needed. Over time, this restores not only physical strength, but also the confidence and sense of aliveness that so many men quietly mourn. And there is an additional benefit that I consider critically important. By applying castor oil to this region, men are not only supporting circulatory health, they are also easing the burden on the prostate gland. This small but enormously influential organ plays a far larger role in men's vitality than most realize. In the next section, I will walk you through how castor oil supports prostate health, why this matters so deeply for erections and overall well-being, and how you can begin protecting this vital gland naturally and effectively. The prostate is a walnut-sized gland that sits quietly beneath the bladder, wrapping itself around the urethra, the passage that carries both urine and semen out of the body. For much of a man's life, it asks for very little attention. But as the years pass, this small gland often becomes one of the most significant contributors to male discomfort and declining vitality. By the time a man reaches his 50s or 60s, it is clinically very common for the prostate to enlarge. When this happens, urinary flow weakens, nighttime visits to the bathroom increase, and intimacy suffers. These are the obvious signs. But what is less commonly understood, and what I consider critical to explain, is that an enlarged or congested prostate also significantly disrupts pelvic circulation. When the prostate is inflamed or swollen, it creates pressure throughout the surrounding tissue, limiting the free movement of blood to the structures responsible for strong, healthy erections. This is a connection that does not often make it into mainstream conversations about men's health, but it is one that I bring up regularly with my patients, because addressing it can make an enormous difference. This is where castor oil offers something genuinely promising. With its unique capacity to penetrate deeply and stimulate the body's lymphatic cleansing mechanisms, it helps reduce congestion in the tissues surrounding the prostate. By encouraging lymphatic drainage and calming local inflammation, castor oil helps relieve the pressure that builds up in this region over time, allowing blood to circulate more freely through the pelvic area. Over time, this not only supports better urinary function, but contributes to restored vitality in the most intimate areas. For men, the benefits extend well beyond physical performance. A healthier, less congested prostate contributes to deeper, more restful sleep, greater comfort throughout the day, and a renewed sense of overall well-being. This is not about masking symptoms with a patch or a pill. This is about addressing the underlying congestion that quietly steals energy and confidence as the years advance. And yet, circulation and prostate health are only part of the picture. Erections rely on something even more foundational, the body's hormonal environment. In the next section, I want to talk about testosterone, cortisol, and the delicate hormonal balance that makes all the difference, and how castor oil can support this balance in a way that is both natural and clinically meaningful. When we speak about male vitality in any honest, complete way, we must talk about hormones, and specifically the hormone that drives everything, testosterone. Testosterone is the primary fuel for male energy, strength, libido, and confidence. It is what gives men their drive, their sense of purpose, and their capacity for intimacy. Yet, after the age of 50, testosterone levels naturally begin to decline. And for many men, this decline is felt not just in the bedroom, but in every dimension of daily life. Less energy, less motivation, less joy. But testosterone does not exist in isolation. It is in constant dynamic relationship with another powerful hormone, cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Here is the relationship that I find most men have never been told about. When cortisol rises, testosterone falls. It is a physiological seesaw. The body, when under stress, prioritizes survival over reproduction. So it reduces the production of sex hormones and elevates the hormones that keep us alert and reactive. This is why men under prolonged, chronic stress, even low-grade, background stress, often notice their vitality fading even when nothing obvious has changed in their lifestyle. The body is simply in a state of hormonal imbalance that quietly suppresses what should be thriving. This is where I find castor oil plays a remarkably elegant role. Its natural compounds act as a calming signal for the nervous system. By reducing inflammation and encouraging lymphatic cleansing throughout the body, it helps lower the overall stress burden that the body is carrying. When the body feels less burdened, cortisol naturally decreases, and when cortisol decreases, testosterone is able to rise and function as it was designed to. Additionally, castor oil stimulates circulation to the adrenal glands, the small but powerful organs located atop the kidneys that regulate the production of both stress hormones and sex hormones. By improving blood flow to these glands and reducing the inflammatory load they are working under, the oil supports a more balanced, stable hormonal output over time. For men in their 50s and beyond, this balance is not a luxury, it is foundational. It is not only about stronger erections, although that matters deeply. It is about a clearer, steadier mind. It is about restful sleep and waking refreshed. It is about having the energy and emotional resilience to show up fully in every part of life. When the body is less stressed, it heals, it restores, it maintains its vitality in a way that no pill can replicate. Now, let us take all of this knowledge, the circulation, the prostate support, the hormonal balance, and move from understanding into action. Because in the next section, I will walk you through exactly how to use castor oil at home, step by step, so that you can begin experiencing its benefits as soon as tonight. Understanding why something works is powerful, but understanding how to apply it is what creates real change. So let me walk you through the castor oil routine that I recommend step by step in plain and practical language. The most effective method is through topical application, specifically massaging the oil into the lower abdomen just above the pubic bone. As I described earlier, this is the circulatory gateway into the pelvic region, and when you apply castor oil here consistently, you are encouraging blood and lymphatic flow to the very area where it is most needed. Here is the routine I recommend. Begin by warming the oil slightly. You can do this by placing the bottle in a bowl of warm water for a few minutes. Warming the oil makes it easier to spread and helps it penetrate more effectively into the tissue layers beneath the skin. Next, lie back in a comfortable position, somewhere quiet where you can relax without interruption. Place approximately 1 teaspoon of oil into the palm of your hand and begin to massage it gently into the lower abdomen. Use slow, circular motions with a light, steady touch. The goal is not to press hard, but to encourage relaxation and invite blood flow into the area. Think of it as opening a conversation with your body rather than forcing an outcome. For even greater benefit, I recommend using what is known as a castor oil pack. To do this, soak a soft flannel cloth in castor oil and place it directly over the lower abdomen. Cover it with a piece of plastic wrap or a thin towel to protect your clothing and bedding. Then place a gentle heat source, a warm water bottle, or a low-setting heating pad over the covered cloth and rest quietly for 30 to 45 minutes. The gentle heat drives the oil more deeply into the surrounding tissue, amplifying both its circulatory and anti-inflammatory effects significantly. This is one of the oldest and most clinically respected methods of natural tissue therapy, and it is remarkably safe and simple to perform at home. This routine can be practiced several times each week or even nightly if desired. There are no harsh chemicals involved, no risk of dependency, and no side effects for the vast majority of men. The key, as with all natural approaches, is consistency. Just as harmful habits weaken the body gradually over years, supportive habits restore it step by step. Most men begin to notice subtle but meaningful changes within the first couple of weeks. A sense of warmth and ease in the pelvic region, more restful sleep, sometimes a return of the spontaneous morning erections that serve as a reliable signal of healthy overnight circulation. These early signs are meaningful. They are the body's way of communicating that circulation is opening and that healing has begun. And they are only the beginning. When I introduce a natural therapy to my patients, the first question is almost always the same, doctor. Will this actually work for me? And it is a fair question, a completely legitimate one. So let me be honest with you about what castor oil can and cannot do, and what a realistic timeline of improvement looks like. Unlike pharmaceutical interventions that force a biological response over a matter of hours, castor oil works in cooperation with your body's natural systems. This means the results unfold gradually as layers of stagnation clear and balance is steadily restored. Patience is not optional here. It is part of the process. In the first few days of consistent use, most men notice subtle signals, a gentle warmth in the lower abdomen after application, a feeling of ease and relaxation in the pelvic region, often deeper and more restful sleep. These may seem like small things, but they are clinically meaningful. They are the earliest indicators that circulation is beginning to open and that the nervous system is beginning to calm. Some men also report the return of firmer or more frequent morning erections during this early phase. As someone who sees patients regularly, I want you to understand what this means. Morning erections are a direct reflection of overnight circulatory health. When they return or strengthen, it signals that the body's vascular system is responding positively. By the second week, changes typically become more pronounced. Energy begins to feel more even and sustained throughout the day. Digestion may improve, particularly for men who have quietly dealt with sluggishness or bloating. Inflammation-related discomfort in the joints, the lower back, or the pelvic area often begins to ease. And for many men, erections begin to feel fuller, with greater sensitivity and more reliable response. Moving into the first full month, the body has had sufficient time to begin genuine recalibration. Testosterone levels often begin to stabilize, not through artificial stimulation, but through the natural reduction of the cortisol burden that was suppressing them. Circulation throughout the pelvic region improves meaningfully, and with it comes a quiet but powerful restoration of confidence. This emotional dimension matters enormously. As a clinician, I see how deeply the loss of sexual confidence affects men's overall mental health, their relationships, and their sense of self. When function begins to return, naturally, without the awkwardness of pills or the anxiety of devices, there is a restoration of dignity alongside the physical improvement. That is something I consider just as important as any laboratory value. Over the long term, 3 months and beyond, the results can be genuinely transformative. When castor oil is used consistently alongside supportive lifestyle habits such as quality sleep, nourishing food, adequate hydration, and stress reduction, the improvements compound in meaningful ways. Erections become stronger and more reliable. Stamina returns. Overall vitality feels more stable and sustainable. Of course, I want to be transparent with you. Results are not identical for every man. Those with long-standing circulatory conditions, heavy medication use, or significant underlying health concerns may see a slower or more modest response than men with relatively healthy baseline function. But the physiological principle remains the same across the board. The body responds when it is supported consistently, gently, and naturally. Castor oil is not a miracle cure, but it is a genuine, evidence-informed tool that works with the body's own healing intelligence. And for men over 50, it offers something that is far too rare in modern medicine: the opportunity to restore function naturally, without side effects, without dependency, and without shame. Before I close today, I want to address something that often goes unspoken in conversations like this one, because the benefits of castor oil, when used consistently, extend far beyond sexual vitality. And as a physician whose mission is whole person health, I think this broader picture matters deeply. One of the most significant of these wider benefits is the support it offers to the lymphatic system. The lymphatic network is the body's internal cleansing infrastructure. It is responsible for clearing out metabolic waste, excess fluid, cellular debris, and environmental toxins from the tissues. When this system slows down, as it often does with age, sedentary habits, and chronic inflammation, waste accumulates, creating a pervasive sense of heaviness, stiffness, and fatigue that many men simply accept as getting older. Castor oil, when applied regularly, actively stimulates lymphatic movement. This means the body is able to cleanse itself more efficiently, creating a lighter, more energetic internal environment. For the pelvic region specifically, improved lymphatic drainage directly reduces the congestion that undermines erectile function and prostate health. Digestive health is another area where I see meaningful improvement among men who adopt this practice. Many men over 50 quietly struggle with constipation, slow bowel motility, or chronic bloating. Because castor oil encourages both circulation and tissue relaxation in the abdominal region, it often brings genuine relief in this area as well. And this matters more than it might seem. A body that digests efficiently absorbs nutrients more effectively, and those nutrients are the very raw materials the body uses to produce hormones, repair tissue, and sustain energy. Then there is inflammation, the silent driver behind so many of the chronic conditions that men face after 50. Modern medicine increasingly recognizes that low-grade systemic inflammation is at the root of heart disease, joint deterioration, metabolic dysfunction, and yes, erectile difficulty. Castor oil's ricinoleic acid has documented anti-inflammatory properties that help calm irritated tissues throughout the body. Men who use it regularly often find that joint discomfort eases, sleep deepens, and their mood becomes noticeably steadier, all reflections of a body with a lower inflammatory burden. And perhaps the benefit that I find most quietly profound is this: the practice itself is healing. In a world that asks men to push through, to perform, to keep going, regardless of what the body is communicating, taking 30 quiet minutes each evening to apply warm castor oil to the body, to lie still, to breathe, to rest. This is medicine for the nervous system. It lowers cortisol. It signals safety to the brain. It gives the body the one thing it most needs and is most rarely given: permission to restore itself. So, men over 50, let us bring this all together. What may have seemed like simply the inevitable process of aging, the gradual loss of circulation, sensitivity, and confidence, does not have to be your permanent reality. Nature has provided us with tools that are elegant in their simplicity, deeply rooted in biology, and astonishingly effective when applied with patience and consistency. Castor oil, applied thoughtfully to that specific and powerful location just above the pubic bone, works in beautiful alignment with your body's own design. It stimulates fresh blood flow into the pelvic region. It supports nerve sensitivity, it calms inflammation, it balances the hormonal environment, and it helps restore the vitality that so many men have quietly mourned as lost. As your physician in this conversation, what I want you to hear most clearly is this: it is not about chasing a quick fix or forcing your body into artificial performance. It is about becoming a partner in your own healing. It is about giving your body the consistent, gentle support it needs to do what it has always known how to do: heal, restore, and thrive. With patience and daily practice, the changes can be genuinely profound. Confidence returns. Energy moves through the body more freely. Intimacy, once dulled by years of stagnation, can awaken with a new vitality that feels earned and sustainable. If you found value in what I have shared today, please pass it along to a man in your life who might benefit from hearing it. And if you are new here, I invite you to subscribe so that you do not miss the evidence-informed, nature-based health guidance I share each week. Your health is your most irreplaceable asset. And as I say to every patient who walks into my office, it is never too late to begin caring for it with intention. So tonight, as you reach for that simple bottle of castor oil, I want you to remember what it represents. Not a shortcut, not a gimmick, but a genuine act of respect for your body and for the life you still have ahead of you. Stay consistent, stay hopeful, and may your journey toward restored vitality bring you strength, confidence, and a deep and lasting joy.